We all know the story of the Titanic, but did you know that there were a few cursed items on board? Many people believe these cursed items are the reason for the tragic events of the voyage. We're going to be counting down the top 5 most cursed items on board to see if there is any truth behind these tales. Coming in at number 5 we have Mummy. Many years ago the Princess of Amun-Ra was laid to rest in an ornate wooden coffin and buried deep in the vault on the banks of the Nile. Years later in the 1890s, 4 rich young Englishmen visited the excavation site. They were invited to buy the mummy case containing the remains of the princess. They took the coffin back to their hotel ready to transport it onward. A few hours into the night he was seen walking out into the desert. He was never seen again. The next day one of the 3 remaining men was accidentally shot. He lost his arm but survived the incident. The 3rd man lost his entire life savings and the bank holding his money was destroyed. The final man suffered a severe illness, lost his job and was forced to live on the streets. Within the first 6 months the 4 men had been destroyed by the curse. The coffin was then shipped to England where it was bought by a London businessman. The coffin continued to torment and curse anyone who owned it. Many people passed away due to being associated with the relic. After the coffin gained a lot of attention, a hard-headed American archaeologist purchased and paid a great price to have it shipped to New York. He dismissed everything that had happened preceding this as being quirks of circumstance or many coincidences. The man flew to London to escort his great treasure to New York aboard the brand new White Star liner on its maiden voyage. Of course, as we know, on April 15th, 1912, the Titanic sunk to the bottom of the Atlantic, taking with it the ancient Amun-Ra's princess. When the Titanic was found and the relics on board recovered, only the lid of the coffin was recovered. It now sits on display behind protective glass at the British Museum. Some people have still commented about paranormal activity near the lid, but it seems the loss of the contents it held has diminished its power. Coming in at number 4 we have the Great Omar. The company Sangorski and Sutcliffe are known for their practice of binding books, something that was popular in the Middle Ages, but they resurrected the craft. Their books were bound in expensive materials with intricate designs. The company was founded in 1901 and grew in popularity quickly. They used real gold, jewels and precious stones. They had a high-class clientele. Their most famous work was the Great Omar. When this piece was commissioned they were told the cost was not to be considered. They made this their greatest piece, outdoing all of their previous efforts. They worked for 2.5 years to create the most beautiful binding with thousands of jewels. Although it was beautiful, it is believed it had an ancient curse attached to it, that at some point during its creation a great evil attached itself to the piece. When it was finished in 1911 it was listed for sale. It sold for £1,000, which would be worth around $120,000 today. It was shipped to New York but returned by the buyers when they refused to pay the custom fee. When it was returned to England they relisted and sold the book again for half of the initial price. It was once again sold to an American buyer. They had the book scheduled to ship but the transport left without the book on board. They scrambled to find the next available way to get the book to the buyer. It was placed aboard the luxury liner, the Titanic. The book was never recovered from the wreckage of the Titanic. This was only the beginning of the misfortune for the book's creators. Just a few weeks later Sangorski drowned trying to save a drowning woman. They did recreate the book, but once again it was destroyed during the London bombings of World War II. Coming in at number 3 we have Love Letter. Many things were recovered from the Titanic that told the story of the people on board and the events leading up to the devastating collision. Richard Geddes, one of the ship's stewards, had left his wife behind in England to work on the ship. Many of the stewards wrote letters to their family while at sea. Unfortunately Richard was one of the unlucky 1,500 passengers left on the ship when it sank to the bottom of the ocean. Most of the letters are your typical letters to loved ones, but this one contained details of what others now see as a bad omen. Something happened within the first days of the voyage that may have indicated that the trip was doomed from the very start. The letter details a close call collision the Titanic had with a smaller ship, the SS City of New York. The 2 vessels came within a couple of feet of one another as the Titanic left the docks. The suction from the propellers of the Titanic caused the City of New York's ropes to snap. This released the boat, causing a new collision that the captain avoided. Some say if they had collided maybe it would have saved their lives. The delay might have made them days or even hours late when crossing the iceberg, and even a few seconds difference can change everything. The rest of the letter is saddening to read, with the seaman telling his wife that she did not need to worry, he was safe and would be home soon. He explained the Titanic felt like a sturdy ship and there would be no issues going forward. Yikes. Well, it was cursed from the beginning when they called it the unsinkable ship. Coming in at number 2, we have the pocket watch. A pocket watch that had belonged to John Chapman was recovered from the wreckage. He was traveling with his wife Sarah. It might seem like an old rusty watch that had been lying at the bottom of the ocean, but there was something strange about it that no one had been able to figure out since it was found. The story of John and his wife was a tragic one. They had been at a party with some of the first-class guests on the night the ship sank. At some point in the night, they got separated when the ship hit the iceberg. His wife Sarah was with the other wives from the party, and they got taken to one of the lifeboats. Sarah soon realized that she would have to go alone, that John would not find her here, and even if he did, he may not be allowed to enter the boat. She made the decision and told the other women, if John can't go, I won't go either. She got off the boat to find her husband. It is not known if she ever did find him before the boat sank. John's body was recovered, but Sarah was never found. It's believed that he had his watch on him during the time that the ship sank, but the watch froze in time. It is still frozen to this day. The watch stopped ticking the moment the iceberg hit the ship. The curious thing about this is that the first impact was not the worst. The shock should not have been so large as to disrupt something as small as a pocket watch. Many have found this to be interesting. Why did the time stop at that moment? This is not the only curious thing about the watch. Since it was bought at an auction, the owner had reported some paranormal activity. They have claimed to have heard a voice coming from within their walls. It's unclear to them what it says, but it sounds distressful. Could it be the spirit of John looking for his lost love Sarah? And finally, in at number 1, we have the heart of the ocean. We all know the story of the heart of the ocean from the film, but the real story is much different. It still tells the story of romance and tragedy. Some believe that the real necklace was cursed and may have been the cause for the tragic events of the sinking ship. The story starts with Kate, who might have been the inspiration for the character Rose in the blockbuster film. Kate was having an affair with a married man named Henry Morley. Henry wanted to be with Kate, but it would not have been wise to leave his wife and live with Kate in their current home. He decided that they would run away together. He decided that they would start a new life under new names. They decided to secretly board the Titanic under fake names and begin their new lives. The pair met when she began working in a sweet shop. It was said he secretly made plans to leave with his lover and even sold a couple of his stores. He kept his running away a secret from everyone except his brother, who drove them to the boat. In the months running up to them sailing, he had a necklace commissioned to give Kate after they boarded the ship. It is rumored that his wife may have found out about the plan, keeping it to herself but somehow cursing the couple. Some believe it was her anger that cursed the necklace so that their new life would never be. They boarded the ship and he gifted Kate the necklace. They looked forward to starting their new life together. When the boat began to sink, Kate was put into a lifeboat along with the other women and children. Henry did not want her to go. He clung to her, but the sailors threw her in the boat. Henry's body was never recovered. Kate spent a few months in New York after she was rescued. She was planning to start her new life under the names he had chosen. It was when she realized that she was pregnant that she felt the need to go home. Kate could never tell her child about her father, Henry, as she found it too painful. She was later admitted to an asylum, unable to deal with the event and trauma of the Titanic. Many believe the heart of the ocean is responsible for destroying not only the lives of these lovers, but of everyone who was on board the Titanic. Well, there we have it. I will see you in the next video. Many years ago, the princess of
I think I might have put up the wrong fucking script.
No, I'm doing Titanic. This is right.
I was tripping out for a second. I looked on the schedule and wait, is that the right one?
Yeah, cursed items aboard the Titanic.
I'm tripping out, my bad.
It's okay to trip out. It's because everyone feels unhinged that Jesus was called Joshua and he was born in April.
I can't think straight now.
Aries man. You know, like I've just thrown a bomb today and caused everyone to be... No, Hannah did that to me. She walked in, she was like, Jesus wasn't born on Christmas Day. And I was like, you know? Of course, as we know, on April 15th, the birth month of Jesus. Won't say that. April's everywhere. It's the reason it's the perfect month. April 25th. It's not too hot, not too cold. You just need a light jacket, as they say in Miss Congeniality, aka Jesus' favorite film.